Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Getting back to work on the Sig 227 in this video. Last video I went ahead and went through the full reassembly of the lower frame and walked through how everything works, functions, things along those lines. This video is going to start on the slide, and I'm going to walk through the complete disassembly of the slide so I can go ahead and do some minor polish work, things like that, and get it all cleaned up. So that being said, let me get the lower out of the way and get to work on the slide. Alright, so first thing we have to do to disassemble it is go ahead and do your basic field strip. So that is going to be removing the recoil spring assembly and then removing the barrel, which is pretty much just pop it loose, move forward ever so slightly, and pull it back out. So there you go. Pretty straightforward field strip done. Put these off to the side and out of the way a little bit. And then the next thing is going to be taking down the firing pin safety, and extractor. And in these, it's pretty straightforward. The first step is going to be knocking out this roll pin right here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a punch and stand to set it on, and then I'll get right back to work. All right, so I have a gunsmith block, and I've got the pin. I'm going to put the pin over a hole in the base, so that way it can drive through without an issue. And then it is going to be a 3/32 punch is what you need. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a hammer and knock that roll pin through the other side. All right, pin is punched through. And one thing I'm going to say, and if you're not experienced in taking these apart, you've never done it before, I would take a picture and look at the orientation of the firing pin safety there, because you need to make sure it goes back the correct way, because that is the next thing that we're going to need to do, is we're going to need to depress the firing pin safety now that that pin is out, and the firing pin should pop out the back once you do depress that. So you can grab a flathead screwdriver or any other kind of tool that you have that you can push down on it, give her a little push, and just like that, the firing pin will push backward, and you can go ahead and pull the firing pin out along with the firing pin spring, and that will pop out then your safety and the safety spring. So just be careful and just mind the orientation of things, how they went in there, and keep a good memory of it for when it comes time to put everything back together. So now that these are out of the way, it's going to be addressing the extractor. So I'm gonna go ahead, push these off to the side, and I'll be back in a second. We can go ahead and take the extractor out. All right, so for the extractor, you've got the extractor itself. There's a pin here, which is like a long push rod, and then there's a spring deep inside. So what you need to do is use a flat blade screwdriver, small enough to get in this area here, push inward on that push rod / pin, take the tension off of the extractor itself, and then you should be able to pop the extractor out of where it's sitting. So it's going to be something along the lines of this. Just like that. And then if you flip it upside down, it'll pop right out like it just did. And then you can go ahead and get the push rod pin out. And then there should be a spring that will come out with enough. I might need to grab a magnet to get it. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, and here is the extractor spring. I basically just used a small old bent punch that I had. I was able to put it in the hole and fish it out without an issue. So that is all of the parts removed from the slide as far as the cleanup and major detailed disassembly goes that I plan on doing. All right, and one last thing I do want to just go over real quick. As far as the firing pin goes here, the orientation of this is the notches are going to go towards the top of the slide, because this front notch here is what the pin that we removed very first thing, that roll pin, that's what goes in that little area there to keep it from falling out. The back notch is where the firing pin safety rides. And again, I told you to take a photo if you're not aware, but this is basically how the orientation sits in the slide. And you can see where there is the flat spot right here in the safety that slides in this groove here. So When the safety is not pushed down, can't move. When it pushes down, then the firing pin can go forward. So that's how that is going to work, and that's why you need to push down on the safety to get the firing pin to pop out when you're doing the disassembly. So the 2 notches are going to go towards the top of the slide, so it'll sit in the slide, obviously with the slide the other way around like this. So just, keep that in mind. Like I said, best to take some photos or whatnot if you're not familiar with the firearm. All right, and that's where I'm going to end this video. Next video, I will pick up with going through and doing the light polish work and whatnot to all these parts, similar to what I've done on the lower frame and other builds that I've put together and documented. So if you like what you're seeing, you want to follow along, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I do review them, I will reply. I do have a second YouTube channel devoted to automotive stuff. If that is something that interests you, please check it out. There's a link in the description of this video. I also have a Rumble channel where I am sharing my firearm content. If you're on Rumble, I'd appreciate it if you would go over there and follow me. There's a link in the description of this video. That being said, thank you very much for watching and have a great day.